what the problem is? We have allowed these people to be taken far too seriously by our institutions, by people in power, by the president, by the courts. Everyone is taking these jokers far too seriously. And I'm done. They want to play in my comment section. If they want to play in my DMs, I'm going to play right back. My page has never, ever been about religion or apologists or Christianity, so much as I've talked about Christian nationalism being a disease in this country. But you know what? I can always shift my content strategy. I can always shift it. There's always time. If these people are going so far as to say that Charlie Kirk died for their sins, then I think I can say Hail Satan with a smile. I think the First Amendment guarantees that I have the freedom to laugh at you guys because you think Jesus is coming back on Tuesday. That's what I think. And I'm laughing at you because you haven't shut down your bank accounts. You haven't given away any of your money. You haven't sold your house. You haven't given your dog away to somebody that's going to take care of them after you get raptured up, because you know you're not going anywhere. You don't even take yourself seriously. So why the hell am I supposed to take you seriously?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dog Waters, and I'm back. And I hope you enjoyed the video this morning. I had to go into that because we needed to touch upon what we as Christians need to have as an understanding of things. Because, unfortunately, there's a lack of understanding of the fact that there is a justice system in the kingdom of God. In fact, that's where we're going to go next. I'm going to show you what the justice system is. And this is why many people go throughout life and they're hurt and they're angry and their heart is full of venom because they don't understand there's a justice system. And then when you see God's justice into the earth, you fight against it because you don't know it's him giving justice. Hold on one second. Here it is. This is a part of our presentation from Bible Study for the Men of Steel Bible Group, strongmenpraying.com, strongmenpraying.com. The presentation is titled God of Vengeance. But it's important that you understand there's a justice system. Romans 12:19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Let me see if I can get this to show itself. The justice system of the kingdom of heaven: restoration, speed, favor, and judgment. These are the four pillars of the justice system of the kingdom of God. So there's restoration, which is what America's going through. There's speed. There's favor, which is what you're seeing when we have negotiation with other nations. And then there's judgment. We are in a time of judgment. Point blank, period. And everybody thinks that people will say, well, America's under judgment for what we've done. No. You seem to believe that God is not a righteous judge. No, he knows who's doing what. He understands who's playing games and who ain't playing games. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of this. Hold on. Let me just go to judgment real quick, and then we'll jump over to the news. Sorry about this. I need to take this gum out of my mouth. But let's start with this. Psalms 125:3. For the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands unto iniquity. When you go into scriptures, you understand the layout. Then you know what you have to pray. So, for example, these leftists who march in the street, the Antifa is a perfect example. I'm praying against Antifa. I say, Lord, do you want us to put our hands into iniquity? Your word says the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous. Then someone may say, well, what makes you righteous? But if you understand your faith in the kingdom of God, your righteousness is not your own. It's the righteousness of Jesus Christ, which was freely given unto you when you accepted him as your Lord and Savior. So when I go into prayer and I say, Lord, your word says, for the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands unto iniquity. I'll say, my Lord, do you want your son to put his hands in iniquity? Is this what's going on? That's not what you said. And then I would say, I decree and declare that the rod of the righteousness shall not rest upon my household. They do not rest upon my head, does not rest upon my body, does not rest upon my finances, right? But you need to understand everything that's happening, everything that has happened is this. The way the wicked prevail over the righteous is to get them to the point where the righteous join in on the wickedness too. They want you to come into agreement with their wickedness. And what you've seen over the past couple of days, especially yesterday, with the revival that's been going on, you've seen the division where people are saying, no, I do not have anything to do with you. That's why all the videos are coming out with people saying, no, I'm leaving the Democrat Party. I can't believe these people are behaving this way. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm a conservative now. You understand that there's been a great division in amongst the people. And how do we know this? What happens after that division? When people take sides, when people say, oh, I'm with you, God. I'm with you, Satan. I'm with you, my Lord. I hail Satan. Oh, judgment is coming. Judgment is coming. Psalms 66:3. Say unto God. This is what it's telling you. Say unto God, how terrible art thou in thy works. Through the greatness of the power of thy power shall thine enemies submit themselves unto thee. This is the most important thing I want you to understand before I jump into the news. These are not your enemies. No, these ain't your enemies. These are his enemies. And they make it plain. They march in the street with LGBT flags. They tell you they want to change boys into girls. You didn't create boys and girls, did you? Did you create man? Did you create babies in the womb? Do you have the ability to do that? No, you don't. These are his enemies. And what you do is you say unto God, hey, my king, how terrible art thou in thy works. Though through the greatness of thy power shall thine enemies submit themselves unto you. Lord, will you in your great power make these enemies submit unto you according to scripture? And then I start naming them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's how you deal with this. That's how you deal with it in prayer. That's how you deal with this whole thing. But there's an entire system of justice that is there for us in the kingdom. We just need to engage in it. It is not taught in churches. It's just not taught in churches. I'm sorry, it's not. It's why the way you learn this is many of the people that I highlight and I show to you. Hold on. I know I'm supposed to be getting to the news, but I have committed unto the fact that I will no longer be trying to do a 20-minute video. I will be doing the video until the video is done. I try to do 20 minutes. I try to keep it short, but it doesn't work when I keep it short because I can't get it all in 20 minutes. So hold on. Let's head on over to somebody that will talk about this, and then we will head to the news. All right, let's get to it really quickly, but it ain't going to be quick. I'm going to tell you right now. We're going to be here for a minute, so buckle up. If you like this kind of content, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. You see, everything that we're dealing with is, they're even articulating their fear, the demons are, that they'll say stuff like, America's about to be a Christian nationalist nation. Because what they understand is that the standard is rising again against darkness. Before Michael Oropo says that, let's listen to this, explain some things. Let's listen to this leftist lose her mind saying that exactly. Here's one of them right here, guys. And she's going to propose a question to her leftist friends and say they don't have a unifying glue. She's going to say that the thing that unifies us together is Christianity and nationalism. And they don't have anything to gather them and unify them. But she just don't realize Satan is the glue that keeps you sons of bitches together. It's Satan. Lucifer himself. Because all of y'all, the Islamicists, the woke people, the LGBT, it's damn Satan.
I have a question for you. What unites the left wing? What makes the left wing come together in community? Because with the right wing, it's obviously Christianity and their collective commitment and love for Jesus, and also nationalism. They are nationalists. America, flag, nationalism. Where for me personally, when I think of national, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. So we don't have a unifying glue in the left wing that binds us together. What is it? What brings us together? What do you think? I have a question for you. What unites the
Satan.
left wing?
You are united by Satan.
The left wing come
you are a kingdom
together
of devil
in community.
worship. You are a kingdom of demons. That's what you are. You wearing the damn demon necklace right now. Look at our necklace. But let's go to the next one, because they're all a bunch of damn demons. And I told y'all over and over again, a liberal white woman is the most dangerous thing on this planet. Here's one running out, calling, saying, "Oh, we're in a civil war." And this is the amazing thing about this to me. Then they piss me off, and I got to gravitate back towards the word of God so I won't spaz out. But look at this woman. What is she gonna do? I mean, really, what would you do if bad boys came for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Especially Smith. What are you gonna do? Nothing. You wanna know why? Because they told you shouldn't get guns because guns kill people. So you don't know how to fight. You don't know how to shoot. You don't know how to defend yourself. And then you talking about, it's gonna be a civil war. We need to prepare. How you gonna prepare? When the whole philosophy that you guys have is not to defend yourself. Not to defend your nation. Your whole philosophy is to talk. So when people come down the streets with guns, which they are not going to do, nobody's coming for you. The worst thing you could do is go out into the streets and provoke people to come meet you, because the people that are going to come to meet you, they are willing to take your life. That's the last thing you guys want. But nonetheless, what the hell is she going to do? But listen to her. This is the problem. This is why you can't have women leading men on the left side. This is why the left is in the problem that it's in, because there's all these emotional women just talking stupidity.
I don't understand how there are still people in America who don't realize we are under a dictatorship. I do not understand how there are people in this country who don't realize that we are headed towards civil war, and we are either going to fight back or we're going to get fucking trampled. I don't understand how some of y'all still don't fucking understand what is happening. But I really hope that you've gotten yourselves ready and prepared in your own neighborhood, in your own, because, oh my God, it's coming for your backyard next. Watch.
What is she going to do? I'm serious. What is she going to do? I'm sorry. I know ample conservative women that carry concealed carry, they got it in their purse, they can throw hands. They prepared to defend themselves from the Muslim invaders, to take a grown man's life if they come after them, not her. I just don't understand what they plan to do. I don't understand what they plan on doing. The point I was getting to is we're seeing justice all over the place. And there is a justice system of God, but there's an expectation that there is placed on us. And it had to be 1 billion people watch Charlie Kirk's his memorial yesterday. I mean, it was 100 million on one stream, and that was in America. I mean, there were streams all over the place. People watched from all over the world. And it was one of the greatest moments in recent history in the faith of Christianity. It really was one of the biggest moments. But for us not to have it be a loss on us, we need to discuss some things. And then I'm going to go to the news. I'm bouncing back and forth, so stick with me. All right, here we go. One of the altars that I'm connected to, which is Michael Aropo. And just for the record, let me tell you how you connect to a spiritual altar, by sowing into that altar. This man will never meet me, most likely. But guess what? When he says, hey, we're going to the UK, bam, I'm dropping money. When we're coming to America to speak, bam, I'm dropping money to support the ministry of what he's doing. And I could go into how, as you support those ministries, you tap into dimensions and doors that are open that you wouldn't normally get into in the realm of the spirit. But I don't want to have to go back and forth with people and discuss tithing and all the rest of this, because some people, they just don't, I don't feel like it. So let's just get to the point. Let's go with Michael Aropo explaining what we are to do.
I'll take us on a journey. I'll begin tonight by dealing with the subject of dominion. And then tomorrow, I will touch the forces that impart dominion. And then in the evening session, we'll go into the practicals of the impartation of the spirit of dominion. And so, when we do these teachings, it will help us understand exactly what we are being imparted with. Because it's not going to be a feeling, it will be a transference of spiritual virtues and spiritual realities. The Bible said, and God said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So this is dominion in three spheres: the air, the waters, and the land. And in verse 28, God reiterated the emphasis. He said, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful. Verse 28 now, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So we have dominion to function in three stratas: the atmospheric realm, the water bodies, and the earth realm. But you see, because of the fall, spirits became part of the activities of human civilization. And so when Jesus came, he expanded the scope of dominion a bit further. And so Paul was teaching by the intelligence of the apostolic unction, began to reveal to us that the strata or the scope of dominion has been further enhanced. And so in Ephesians chapter 1 verse 20 and 21, and Ephesians chapter 2 verse 6, Paul revealed to us that the dominion mandate of man had extended from the visible realm into the invincible realm. So he was talking about the power and the authority by which Christ was raised from the dead. And he said when he was raised, he was set at the right hand of God in heavenly places. Now when Jesus was set at the right hand of God, he was set there as a man, because the Bible said even today we have an advocate with the Father. And he said the man Jesus Christ. It didn't say the God Jesus Christ. So he was set at the right hand of God in heavenly places. And in order to help us understand, Paul added new entities that comes under the dominion scope of man. Now if you read Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 and 28, God was talking about the bird, he was talking about the fowls, he was talking about the fish. Now Paul made us understand that where Christ has taken humanity to is not just over the visible realm or natural creations. If you see verse 21 of that scripture, Paul began to itemize the other entities that come under the dominion of the man Jesus Christ. Ephesians 1 verse 21, it says far above principalities and powers and might and dominion. Now these are authorities in the spirit, because in the spirit realm a dominion is also a personality. In the spirit realm, when you study the stratification of spiritual entities, you will find out that in the demonic realm there are demons. Demons are disembodied beings. They are spirits that no longer have bodies. This is why demons look for bodies to possess in order to find expression. So they are the lowest in the cadre of demonic ranking. Then you have, after demons, you now have what Paul calls principalities. The word principality means first in rank. So in the authorities of fallen angels, the first that goes into the business of kingdom are principalities, because principalities have the power to bargain territories. This is why in the ranking of fallen angels, they are the ones that proceed first. And if you study your Bible, you will discover that there are also principalities in light, because they were principalities in heaven before they fell, but now they are no longer on God's side. They are now on the side of Satan. So after demons, who are messenger spirits, you also have princes in the demonic realm. Now demons can be cast out, but principalities can be cast out. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, we wrestle against principalities, because principalities are not servant spirits, they are fallen angels. They are princes in the demonic realm. So if you move from the cadre of servant spirits, you now come to principalities. Then you have powers. Then you have rulers of the darkness of this world. Then you have spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Among rulers and spiritual wickedness, some of them are dominions. Now when you study the Bible, one thing you discover is that a don't have a territory. That's why he goes to bargain for territories. But when you find a dominion is a prince that possesses a territory. This is why when God created man and gave him the earth realm, he made him a dominion. Because when you become a dominion, you are not just a prince, you are a prince that has jurisdiction over territories. So Paul was telling us here that when Jesus was exalted, he was exalted above principalities, he was exalted above powers, he was exalted above dominions, and above every name that is named, not only in this world but in the world that is to come. This is where Christ as man is now seated. So this automatically makes man in the cadre of divinity an entity that ranks above princes. And in order to make you understand that this was not just a prerogative of Jesus, in Ephesians 2 verse 6, Paul now added something. He said, you and I are seated with Christ, where he is now seated far above principalities, far above powers, far above rulers. So any being under heaven that is not a man, and any creature under heaven that is not a man, we have authority in God to enforce God's will wherever they are. So you need to understand that the dominion mandate is first in the visible realm, then it proceeds from the visible realm to the invincible realm as touching the second heavens. The subject we have come here to study is the subject that gives us intelligence on how to master the operations of this realm, so that we can bring God's will anywhere we find ourselves.
Now, I'm going to stop Michael Aropo there because he laid out perfectly the point I'm trying to make. See, the point I'm making is everything that's came against this nation, everything that comes against your family ain't supposed to be coming against you. You are a ruler over those things. Point blank, period. And the reason why it's gotten this far is because we've been literally talked into it, shamed into it. Oh, you're a racist, you're a fascist, you're a bigot, you're this. Instead of enforcing these things. And so even now, when you see the enforcement of it, you see people crying and whining about it. Hold on, let's go to the news real quick. Here's a perfect example of it. Donald Trump over the weekend came out and he said, hey, Pam Bondi, you're going to need to get this together and get our enemies and get them put in prison. And then people come out and cry and whine. Oh, well, Donald's attacking those people. No, they broke the law. No, they should be in prison. Point blank, period. But see, if Christians understand this, if we understand that we are supposed to exercise dominion in righteousness, and that person's guilty, and they've been lying, they've been stealing, lock them up now. And you will be 100% in support of locking them up. And we're not even getting to spirits. This is just natural man stuff. You see, there's a spirit that contends with Pam Bondi to keep from doing her job. There's a spirit there, an altar there in FBI that contends with Kash Patel, which is why when someone goes into the FBI, they get captured. There's an altar there where they've been doing the same activity over and over and over and over and over. So when you go into that spiritual environment, you become corrupted. The DOJ had a spiritual environment around it. When you went to that environment, you get captured. But no, we don't understand these things because the world that is seen is made of things unseen. It's why when Melania Trump went to the White House this time around, if you go back and look, they had reports of her having an exorcism done in the White House. They had an exorcism done in the White House because I'm pretty sure they learned from the first time there, every damn form of ritual, magic, and darkness needed to be thrown out of there. But take a listen. This is Caroline Lovett going back and forth with this guy who's talking about Pam Bondi in an effort to get him to try and bring to shame Donald Trump for going after his enemies. They're not Trump's enemies. They're the enemies of America, and they're the enemies of the kingdom of God.
President on exactly what that announcement entails.
On a different topic, going back to the president's social media post from over the weekend regarding the DOJ and his seeming frustration that they hadn't taken action quickly enough. I want to point to something that the president said during his inaugural address. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. We will not allow that to happen. Is the president going back on his promise?
No. In fact, the president is fulfilling his promise to restore a Department of Justice that demands accountability. And it is not weaponizing the Department of Justice to demand accountability for those who weaponized the Department of Justice. And nobody knows what that looks like more than President Trump. We are not going to tolerate gaslighting from anyone in the media or from anyone on the other side who is trying to say that it's the president who is weaponizing the DOJ. It was Joe Biden and his attorney general who weaponized the DOJ. Joe Biden used this sacred American institution to go after his political opponent in the middle of an election year. And you look at people like Adam Schiff and like James Comey and like Letitia James, who the president is rightfully frustrated. He wants accountability for these corrupt fraudsters who abused their power, who abused their oath of office to target the former president and then candidate for the highest office in the land. And I think the president is reaffirmed in those frustrations and his hope for accountability by the millions and millions of people who reelected him to this office with a mandate to demand accountability. And the president has not been shy about this, Gabe. In fact, when he traveled to the Department of Justice earlier this year, all of you were there to cover it. He said, quote, "I demand a full and complete accountability for wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people gave a mandate to investigate and root the corruption out of our system." And that's what the president wants to see done.
Carolyn.
Ed.
On the autism issue again, there are reams of scientific.
Sorry about that. I wanted to fix my camera. And when you start to look at it from this perspective, the dominion perspective, judgment perspective, there are some systems, there are some things that we are to bring judgment against ourselves as we are the ones who have dominion. And there are some things that you need to bring to the Lord for judgment. So, for example, some things are out of control. So you take someone like a George Soros or a Bill Gates. When you see sticky points or sticking points with them, that's when you go to the Lord and you present them to the Lord for judgment in his judgment system. Like, for the longest, people have been praying against George Soros to get him judged, literally indicted, RICO case. 2-3 years. Same thing with Bill Gates. But you got to understand how to function in the kingdom. And I'll tell you this. If Christians had been standing in their dominion like they were supposed to, none of this would have happened in the first place. So when Bill Gates first started talking about, hey, we're going to genetically modify the cows and do this, if everybody would have came out and let it be known publicly to the presidents, marched on the streets against Bill Gates organically, not some paid march, then Bill Gates wouldn't be doing a damn thing. He wouldn't be spraying clouds. He wouldn't be talking about he blotting out the sun. He wouldn't be doing none of that. But people haven't done it. It took for him to, it took for it to get to this point for people to get activated. And that's the danger of not standing in your dominion. And again, I'm not even talking about the spirits of the air and the spirits of the water. And I'm just talking about the standing in your dominion. For example, watch this. Let's go to this mother who had an issue with her child. And her child being picked on in school. This woman's 6-year-old son expressed conservative views in his classroom. The teacher created a certificate for him that said most likely to become a dictator and presented it to him in front of his entire class while his classmates called him a Nazi file. The indoctrination take place in our education system is a national emergency. Had we stood up to this when it was time and stood in dominion as a Christian and then infiltrated the schools as Christians, instead of handing it over to the leftists, went in been teachers, principals, you wouldn't have this problem. That's what the dominion is. It's you being there, you being present. And then inside that environment, now you're praying and you bringing the presence of God into that environment. But instead, we get crap like this.
My son, 6 years old, was prohibited from sitting next to his friend on the school bus because a parent objected to my perspectives on book challenges. My older son's history teacher allowed students to label him a Nazi file simply for his interest in history and participation in ROTC. She later nominated my son as the most likely to become a dictator and had his classmates vote on it and try to force him to the front of the class to receive the certificate, which he rightly refused, all because of his conservative values and our perspectives.
Thank you. James.
My son, 6 years old, was prohibited from sitting next to his friend on the school bus because a parent objected to my perspectives on.
Therein lies the problem. I mean, it's the problem. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I'm glad my sons did not come up in this era because that teacher would have been met at his front door. Ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Hey, can I help you? Step on outside for a second, buddy. I want to have a conversation with you. Step on outside, ma'am. I want to have a conversation with you, ma'am. But who are you? Well, my son's name is such and such. Well, you can't come to my house. I know I'm not doing anything. Step on outside. Let's have a conversation. And then I would have let that teacher know. Don't have me come back to your house. I'm calling the police. Call them. Please call them. They ain't going to be there with you all the time, but please call them. Don't have me come back to your house over my child. Because there's this structured environment where everybody's, oh, I'm woke and I'm in the school system, I'm protected, and you ain't really protected. You ain't protected when you leave that school campus. I had this conversation with a basketball coach for my sons. Called him out where he was drinking. He liked to go out drinking, went there. He said, what's up, Mr. Williams? Blah, 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 blah. Man, what you doing there? I said, man, I came looking for you. How you doing today? And then it dawned on him. I said, man, I know you big man on campus. But I just want you to know you're not always on campus. That's a job. You're at a job. When you leave that job, you're a regular citizen, you're a regular human. And then it dawned on him. Nah, this Negro figured out where I go out for drinks and came to see me. We didn't have any problems after that. But the problem is we just lay down and let them do whatever they want to do to us. We don't stand in any form of dominion, any form of power. And that leads me to one of the more important things. Donald J. Trump. Pam, I have received over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why 2 of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media saying he'd quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case and many layers, and legal pundits say so. Lindsay is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now, President Donald J. Trump. And the news media is losing its mind saying he's weaponized the Department of Justice. No, he's sending Pam Bondi a message that, hey, Pam, if you don't do your damn job, you got to go. You got to go. And I'm going to tell you this. I've said this from the very beginning, that Pam Bondi should have been gone with the Epstein files. When she paraded herself out there and said, we have the files, we have the files, we have the files, and just didn't shut up. And then afterwards she came back out talking again. I'm like, woman, all you got to do is shut up and let this go away and go do your job and arrest people. And she'll come out. We arrested 15 narco terrorists, and we got this many pounds of fentanyl. Thank you. Great. Awesome. But that's not what people are looking for. It's a good thing. But we are looking for people like Peter Shifty Schiff to get arrested. We need to see it. And the reason why we need to see it is because if it doesn't happen, these wicked people only get emboldened. Have you ever considered Ilhan Omar coming out and attacking Charlie Kirk during his day of his memorial? And what's the Caterpillar Eye girl name from Texas? What's Caterpillar Eye's name? Hold on, let me find this Caterpillar Eye husband. Here she is, Jasmine Crockett, coming out to compare Republicans like to Hitler.
I am using that language because it is accurate language. When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. I am using that language because it is accurate language. When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and
crazy people. They're absolutely insane. But it's our fault. And that's the one thing people have to understand. This is Christians' fault in America. You have to take responsibility for it in order to change it. It's my fault. It's your fault. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's our faults. Because honestly, everybody wanted to sit back, watch a football game, relax their nerves and chill, and because nobody wanted to be in control. Nobody really wants to be in power. But saying you don't want to be in power means that you're saying you don't want to stand in your God-given dominion. So you're handing it over to wicked people like this. So saying, oh, well, I'm retired. I don't feel like, I worked 40 years. I don't feel like being bothered with kids in school. I don't want to go be a school teacher at my kid's school. You handing it over to a liberal. I don't want to. I got a PhD in physics and I made $2-3 million. I'm gonna go hang out on the beach and play with my proceeds from my invention. Screw the world. You're handing over that principalship to a liberal. It's what happens when you don't stand in your dominion. And then the Bible says, "Let them have dominion." Man and woman, let them. It didn't say let good men and women have dominion. It said let them have dominion. So technically, this raggedy trick is standing in her dominion. That's what she's doing. You don't have to be righteous to stand in it. She doing it. She just happened to be wicked and evil. And therein lies the problem. For example, they fire Jimmy Kimmel and they go all out there and start marching and crying and screaming, and then Jimmy Kimmel comes back. How many times did you see people protest, literally go out and protest when conservatives was fired? Did we see any marches on YouTube when YouTube started censoring everybody? We didn't see any marches in the streets against YouTube. We saw a lot of talk. Now, don't get me wrong. They started shooting up buildings because I think ABC and Disney are afraid of these extremists. So they shot up some buildings. They may be like, okay, well, these people might kill us. We're going to put them back on TV. And I don't want us to do nothing like that. That's ridiculous. But the point I'm making is we have to stand in dominion. This is Antifa in the streets of Paris or Milan, terrorizing the hell out of the police. And I'm going to say this, guys, so you'll understand it. There's going to come a day where the Patriots are going to have to go out and meet these people if Kash Patel and all the rest of them don't do their job. We're at the stage where pro-Palestinian, Antifa, Muslims, if you really go listen to, especially in America, if you listen to the people that's Antifa with their face covered and listen to what they're saying, those aren't Americans. But you got to listen. You got to watch the videos and listen. You realize, no, that's not American citizens. Those are Muslims. Some of them are standard white dude, but if you listen very carefully, you will hear a lot of them. They can't help it. They'll be like, Allahu Akbar. They can't help but do it. But this is, and you can tell I was a liberal. Look how he threw the rock. Watch this. Let me make this big. Look how this damn clown threw the rock. Like he ain't never threw nothing. Watch this one at the bottom left. Matter of fact, look at all of them throw rocks. Here, come watch. You about to throw like a little girl. Bottom right. Right here. Watch this. Hit you with a rock. That's the problem that we're running into, ladies and gentlemen. The problem that we're running into is we have let these cowards, these clowns, take over. That's what it is. Here's another one. Conservative, Mickey Sherrill, the Democrat candidate for New Jersey governor, wants to force LGBTQ indoctrination in schools and prevent parents from opting their kids out. This is the problem. And until parents start standing in their dominion and go and say, hey, no. I'm not going to wait until you get there. No. I'm not going to wait till I'm going to go let you know right now as governor, you're not finna be governor with this foolishness. You're not going to get the opportunity to do it.
Should parents have the right to opt their kids out of LGBTQ-related content in the same way that right now they can be removed from sex ed and health curriculum classes?
Look, I believe that parents have the right to oversee their children's education. I would push in LGBTQ education into our schools. Parents have a right to opt out of a lot of things, but this is not an area where they should be opting out, because this is an area of understanding the background of people throughout our nation. And right now we see, for example, at the Naval Academy, an erasure of history.
Steve Sweeney, should parents have the right to opt their kids out of LGBTQ?
You see what I'm saying? You got to stand. It can no longer be where you don't stand up. It just can't be that way. Now we're going to go back to Michael Aropo. He's going to go into what I'm saying. Hold on. All right, if you're still with me, you're going to have a great appreciation for this. So rock with me.
In priesthood, we legislate and litigate. So we it's like a court session where we enforce God's purpose through spiritual litigation. Then in kingship, we exercise authority to stop any force, be it a person, a system, a policy, or an entity that wants to stop God's agenda. We fight it out through power. Now, the reason dominion is important is because you can't enforce God's purpose without dominion. This is why we are dealing with the subject here tonight. Knowing God is something we have been practicing since we became Christians. Worshiping God is what we have been practicing since we became Christians. Now we want to raise a generation that can represent God, whether they are in the bank, whether they are in the market, whether they are in government, so that when they come there, their agenda is thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. But hear me, that generation will never rise until they understand dominion. Because when you go out there, the moment you say thy kingdom come, you have declared war. And when the opposition comes, you need power to be able to resist them. So the reason we are dealing with dominion is because there is an agenda to be facilitated, and helpless men can't facilitate that agenda. Aliyah, 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 you reign, you ancient Zion's king. Kadosh, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. Break forth, O fountains of the deep. Cry out, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. You reign, you reign, you reign, you reign, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. The moment God created the earth and he wanted his agenda to be facilitated, the Bible said God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. Without dominion, you may wish God's agenda, it won't come to pass. We don't wish God's agenda. See, you know the problem with us? We are sitting in our room and wishing that God's will be done in Kenya. God's will not be done in Kenya by wishing it. For God's will to be done in Kenya, men of power must rise. Carriers of dominion in government, in the economy, in church, in the academia, they must rise. We don't wish God's will, we enforce God's will. That's why dominion is important. I don't know who is hearing me here tonight, but before you walk out of this place, you will catch a scepter in the spirit. Some of you have been crying for God's will to be done in your family. 7 persons have died. You don't cry God's will to be done, you enforce God's will. Some of you have been begging for God's will to be done in your life. Men have messed you up, yet God's will has not been done. It takes power for God's will to be done. Even the disciples of Jesus, when he wanted to leave them, he said, don't go out with lecture notes. I know you sat in my class, but it's not enough to carry information. He said, tarry until you are endued with power from on high. If power comes, a fisherman can take the word. We are talking dominion. We are talking the power to establish divine government on the earth. And I beg you, make up your mind to possess it. This is not about ambition. You know, when we discuss the subject of power, people think, oh, we have been ambitious. No. We have understood that it takes knowing God for your life to count. We have understood that it takes worshiping God for your life to count. And we have understood that it takes advancing God's agenda for your life to count. And we have also come to understand that you can't advance God's agenda without power. Do you know the level of accuracy and precision that the disciples of Jesus, who did not only hear him but watch him demonstrate power, will have? But he said, that's not enough. Don't go tell people you were with me. The proof that you were with me is that power will come on your life. He said, when that power comes, you can create change. This is what dominion is all about. And I want to take time. Oh my God. I will define the subject first. You know, I'm
going to stop Apostle Michael right here. Not to cut him off, I'll come back to him because we ain't in no rush. But I need you to understand something as I jump back into the news. You see, the reason why everybody's got a problem with Donald Trump, and I've said this over and over again, is because Donald Trump stands in an extreme version of dominion as a liberal. Remember, he was a liberal that supported Clinton and then before he became a conservative. And then it got to the point where he was like, nah, I need to run. So you took a man who already stood in a form of dominion to where had hotels and ballrooms and pageants and all this stuff all over the earth. And then He was converted into the kingdom of light and came and stood. So his kingship was strong. His priesthood is getting stronger. There's two forms of dominion. There's kingship, which means your influence in the earth, and there's priesthood, which means your prayer life. There's a mismatch because his priesthood is not as strong as his kingship. But when you get when you get to JD, oh boy, when you get to JD Vance, oh my Lord. When you look in JD's eyes, JD Vance has got them both. Yep, JD Vance has them both. But that's not the point I was making. The point I was making is, you see, when you stand in your priesthood and you stand in dominion, you go into a school as a teacher, everything in that school is going to change because you go in there as an ambassador for God. And so every little thing that rises up against you, the Lord is going to bring people in there. Like you go into that school, he's going to bring people that come against you and crash against you so he can judge them. Go clean that whole space out because you're there. But the reason why it's not working for us is because we're staying away from the battle. But you're already in the battle. That's the one thing we should have come to realize with the memorial of Charlie Kirk is that you are in a war. You need to be active in the war. How am I active in the war? I'm active in the war every day by talking to you about it. But you're in a war. You're in a war. Sitting on the couch ain't going to get you there. That's why I told y'all a couple of days ago, man, y'all need to start your YouTube channels. And for those of you who don't want to start a YouTube channel, if there's a park where you can go coach at the park, go to the park. If you can substitute school at the school, teach at the school, go in that school, be a substitute teacher. Get there early, start praying, walk around the halls and pray. And start smashing all that foolishness. They got a teacher that's LGBT in the class in the school. Go in her classroom and pray. And cast them spirits out. Get active. And we're going into this phase where we're going to have to be active. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to activate. Because you see, this revival that everybody's excited about, I'm excited about it too. But, you know, when you have a revival like that, the kingdom of darkness looks around and it's like, oh, hell, we about to get crushed. They're going to launch a counterattack. Probably be the Islamists going into the streets, burning and killing and shooting. But even that's going to fail them. But the kingdom of darkness will launch a counterattack. Let's get to the last part of this by Apostle Michael Oropo. And I'm going to say this. I had so many invites to go back into doing political consulting. And it took a long time for me to get comfortable with this notion. Because for me, it was, and I thank my friend Byron for this, for me, it was always, hey, if I go back into that world, I'm going to go back in there and be a dragon that's going to lose control. Because you can't be a nice guy in that realm. There's no nice guys over there. There's only monsters over there. I'm sorry. If you work in opposition research, you're a monster. You're just a monster. You just have to come to accept the fact that you are a monster. I just didn't know that you could be a good monster. Didn't know it. I had no clue. Here we go. Michael Oropo.
In Psalm 92 verse 10, it says, my horn, O God, hast thou exalted as the horn of the unicorn. That's influence, that's dominion. When people have dominion, when they speak, their generation hear them. And they have the power to inspire their generation positively. So people live their life based on what they hear those people say. Why do you think Jesus told us to disciple the world? How
Charlie
can people
Kirk
just hear us and begin to follow what we are saying? It's called dominion. A sinner listens to you, he changes his ways. A corrupt politician hear you, changes his ways. An adulterer, a murderer hears you, changes his ways. So your job is to keep talking and the society keeps changing. That's influence. Psalm 89 verse 20 to 25. It says, I have found David my servant. It said, with my holy oil have I anointed him, with whom my hand shall be established, my arm also strengthen him. The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the son of wickedness afflict him. It said, I will beat down his foes before his face, and plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. I will set his hand upon the sea and his right hand upon the rivers. That's dominion. These people talk and multitudes are influenced. Oh, imagine if there are 10 of us who can influence 10 million. We will change Kenya in 1 week. So this is not ambition. This is not popularity. This is a strategy of God to colonize a territory and a people and a generation. Influence. The way Psalm 72 verse 8 puts it is what blessed me the most. It says he shall have dominion also over the sea and over the rivers to the ends of the earth. Imagine what will happen if you talk here in Kenya and 60% of the youths of America stand still. You won't need to go there. You will be here and shape that generation. Meanwhile, this is the power God has given to us, but we have not studied it to understand how it works. He said you are a city set upon the hill that cannot be hid. The first thing that should marvel you is that you are called a city.
I love this man. Oh my God, I love this man. I love this man. Do you guys get what Charlie Kirk was and is now? And do you understand what happened when Charlie Kirk was murdered? I mean, what if Charlie Kirk was one city on the hill and his death made 30,000 new cities, chapters of his group? And this is 30,000 new chapters. And let's say each chapter has 100 people in it. That's 30,000 times 100 people. Cities of shining light who want to have that level of influence over the earth. He was a man that stood in his kingship and stood in his dominion. And I remember, if you've been watching me, I said, man, when Satan in the kingdom of darkness often makes these miscalculations. I said, man, he miscalculated on this one. He miscalculated on this one. Now, I kind of, if you don't mind, I kind of want to just hear the end of this. It's 6 minutes, so I'm just going to listen to it with you. Because a lot of these, I'm led to. These lessons I know, but the Lord's like, okay, God, how are we going to make this point? Go click that. Stop, talk, move forward. Listen. I want to hear how he ends this. We're at 56 minutes. We're not confined by time. Either you're going to watch or you're not going to watch. But the product's going to be what it's going to be. Let's go.
That means your capacity alone, without doing anything, is equivalent to a city. That's why God's servant came here. Look around you. See the number that he drew to this place. Your capacity is a city. You know, when I look at the secular world, I know that we have a lot of grounds to cover in church. You see one person rises up, design electric cars, and the whole of Europe, the whole of America, and part of Africa depends on it. They just change things. Somebody builds a social media handle, and 2 billion people subscribe out of a world of 8 billion. Some of us are even happy that we have followership on the platform. If the guy decides today to shut down your page, you are gone. You see that we have a lot of ground to cover. We are preaching, but we depend on them. This message we are preaching here, if it will reach hundreds of thousands, then we have to switch to their networks. So don't they know something that we don't know? Jesus said the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of the kingdom. Some people look at me and they say, ah, great man of God. Why? They say you have a lot of followers. And I'm looking on another man's platform who don't know Jesus. So that man is giving me relevance. That means we need to re-examine the subject of dominion. We are driving in cars owned by godless people And we feel important because you came down from a Mercedes, you came down from a Cadillac, and you feel important. So how about the owner of the company? We wear watches, we feel important. We flaunt the price we bought it for. How about the designers of the watches? So they know something we don't know. I'm not saying we should go vain with material things, but the question I'm asking is, how come in an 8 billion world, Christians are still just about 2.6 billion? Who is influencing the remaining 6 billion? Out of these 2.4, 2.6 billion, the ones that are real Christians are not up to 800 million. Because the whole of South America is they are Christians. Half of Europe is Christian. But how many of them know Jesus? So even this number are traditional Christians, not people who have relationship with God. So if we were to censor it, maybe we have somewhere around 500 million Christians in an 8 billion world. And we say we are doing so much. Now that number is not a problem. With that number, if everyone can win 10, we'll win the world in 1 week. If there are 500 million Christians and each of us wins 5 people, that's already 5 billion. Oh, is that 5 billion? Help me with calculator now. Or how much? Is it 25 billion? 2.5 billion. If we win 20, that's 5 billion. If we win 25, we have won the world. So the number of Christians is not the problem. The quality of those Christians is the problem. If every Christian wins 25 people, we will colonize the world in 1 week. That is to give you an idea how uninfluential we are in this world. Dominion is power for influence. Number 3, what is dominion? It's power to prevail and to execute judgment. When a man has dominion, he can break down opposition. And God knows that we will have attacks. Please don't make the mistake of thinking Christianity is a bed of roses. The moment you call Jesus your Lord, be ready for attacks. The first day the church was instituted, Matthew 16 verse 16 to 18, Jesus said, upon this revelation I will build my church. The first thing he said was, and the gate of hell shall not prevail. That means the gate of hell will fight. The gate of hell will fight. But the testimony is that they will not prevail. So Christianity is not a bed of roses, but it's a journey of overcomers. That means Satan may come, but we have power to stop him. But you see, if that does not register in your consciousness, you will live all your life running from Satan. Today, a Christian buys a house. They say herbalist was living there. The Christian will pack and run away. But the early missionaries that came to Africa, they gave them evil forests. They drove Satan out of it. So what has happened to Christianity? We have increased strategy, mastered excellence, but lost power. They gang up against a Christian. He faints. But we were called to rule and to dominate. How can you dominate if there are no oppositions? The Bible said in Isaiah 54 verse 15 and 17. I'm still defining dominion. It said in verse 15, Isaiah 54, it says, surely, behold, surely they shall gather. It said, but not by me. And it said, whosoever shall gather together against thee, it said, they shall fall for thy sake. He didn't even say you are praying yet. Because of who you are. 1 John 5 verse 4. Whoever is born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith. Numbers 23:23. There's no enchantment against Jacob. There's no divination against Israel. The shout of the king is in their midst. You are not yet praying. He said opposition can't hurt you. Now what happens when you start praying? Because I'm a child of God, I'm already an overcomer. He said anybody that gangs up,
I'll pick up what he's saying because that's the end of it. He said, because I'm a child of God, I'm an overcomer. Anybody that gangs upon me will be overthrown. That's just because you're a child or a son of God. It just happens. Now, when you go into prayer, it expedites it. It makes it happen expediently. It happens extremely quickly. I don't think I said that word correctly. One more, just with this context, right? The context of dominion, with the context of you going out into battle as a son or a daughter of God. With this context, what happens when you go into these environments filled with leftists that are on their jobs? What happens when you go into an environment that's a healthcare environment and they come against you? They will come against you. I trust me, I've had it over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, they will come against you. But what happens when you go in that context and deal with these type of people like him? Like idiots like that. Or it gets worse. Or people like him, Mike Huckabee, who go and pledges allegiance to another country. Well, what happens? Or when you come against people like this? And you see this, take it easy on them. This, turn the other cheek to them. That ain't what's supposed to be happening. These people need to get arrested. And you should demand that they get arrested. They should be dealt with ASAP. Or what about these people right here who pretend that the president is dying and that they're gutting the president of the United States and his blood is squirting all over the place? Judgment. But I'm going to tell you what I know. I know for a fact that we're not there yet. It's going to take a little bit more blood to be shed. You see, Christians going to have to see. You saw Charlie Kirk and it was horrible. I think we're going to have to see a little bit more. We shouldn't. Keep it real with you. We shouldn't. But I think we're going to have to see a little bit more. I don't want us to see a little bit more. I don't want us to see a horrific mass casualty incident. Multiple horrific mass casualty incidents for us to understand and realize, no. We're not taking this. But I think it's going to take that. All right, guys. The one and only James Williams, Dog Waters. I'm out of here. Hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button.